Optibotimus coming with another video review. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 479 of the 1/6 scale Thanos from Avengers Infinity War. This is the big boy himself, and people have been looking forward to this guy for a long time. For the package, you got that very similar Infinity War style package where it's a slip sleeve cover on the outside of the box, and you can see that down here at the bottom, it's cut, and underneath it you can see the Avengers Infinity War logo. You got an absolutely gorgeous image of Thanos right there with the Infinity Gauntlet. That is a concept image of sorts. That's not either of the head sculpts that he comes with, so I feel like that this is just artistic. The side here has a continuation of that front image, and then you can see you got Thanos with an absolutely massive Infinity Gauntlet there in the back. Opposite side here has that continuation of the Avengers A. You got the little foil Avengers logo down there. Back of the package has various warnings and contact information, and then like I said, it's a slip sort of package, so you just pull that up. And here on the back, you can kind of see an Avengers logo there blended in, but all the way down here at the bottom, you see the various cast and crew responsible for making this figure. Come around here to the front, and you got that logo that you could see previously, because like I said, it's printed on this back section. And then you have the open window that fully showcases the figure, as well as all of his accessories. One thing of note is this is the second version of Thanos that we gotten, and the first version, while for the time was a terrific figure, the package was much larger because it had that giant throne. So it's kind of nice to get a little bit smaller of a box for this guy. But for the packaging on this, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Thanos opened up and out of his packaging. Now starting off first with his accessories, he really doesn't come with a lot. And that was even true with the previous Thanos. All he really came with was that large throne. This guy, I don't know what else that you could include with him. I mean, he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, so that's pretty much all he really needs. Much like all Hot Toy figures, he does come with his instruction sheet. There's really not much to this. It shows how to swap out his head and his arms, how to install the batteries in the Infinity Gauntlet. You got instructions on how to assemble that, which you just kind of fold it, and then a bit of a warning on leaving the rubberized arm in a prolonged position. It tells you to return it to a natural position after some time to avoid damage. So basically how I have that right now would probably damage it, which kind of sucks, because when you pay this much money for a figure, you want to pose them, right? And it sucks that a lot of these Hot Toy figures, you seem to be getting that warning more often than not, that you can't leave them in a prolonged pose. I mean, I'm a collector that I typically leave them in a static pose. This is very static, which means not dynamic or action figure-y or whatever, just a museum kind of vanilla pose. But even something like this, they're saying could potentially damage it, which, like I said, sucks. And I guess that's a conversation for another time, but you pay this much money for things, and it really is unfortunate that you can't put the figures in whatever pose you want. If, you know, Hot Toys wants to charge this much money, I'm tangenting again. But for his accessories, as I said, he really doesn't come with a lot. In addition to this kind of a clutching hand that I currently have on him, he comes with a pair of right hands that are just done in a fist, which is really not too much of a fist, honestly, because it's kind of sloped. I mean, I guess you could do like a punch kind of thing, but that's just more like a, I mean, he's not full on punching. I mean, because that would have more like of a 90-degree angle for the knuckles and stuff. That's just kind of like him just resting there with his fist closed. And then you've got a open hand. This is very similar to what we've seen with like the Hulk, but there is no bendy wire in that. Great textural detail on here. Even with the original Thanos, they put a lot of really nice detail. Hopefully you'll be able to see that if I come in close enough and the camera will focus on it. You can see a great amount of detail on there, like with the different speckling in the actual skin tone itself. I mean, really very nice. And then you also have that with the rest of the body. You can see that sort of speckling throughout the entire thing. This is his extra arm. This is locked in this position. It is meant to just be kind of a flex sort of pose. It does still have the rubber body on the outer section of it, but the rubber material is sculpted in this position so that doesn't cause damage. One thing that I always see reviewers talk about, but never actually mention, is this arm and how like the biceps really weirdly positioned there. I mean, you can kind of see like this weird gap, like right here. I mean, especially like down here, I feel like that sculpting is really weird looking. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, in general, I'm able to ignore it because if I have this on there, I'm more focused on the Infinity Gauntlet. But that just, I mean, looks strange to me. I mean, like a natural bicep does not have this weird ass sort of gap down there. I don't know. I don't have that much of a bicep, so maybe you do. You can see it's just on a ball joint. I'll show you how to swap that out. But you have the Infinity Gauntlet here. Now, to install the batteries here, it's interesting because they always tell you to be careful about rubbing on this. And when you turn this, it rubs. You can feel it rubbing on it. I don't know if that's just the way it is, but you can put it like that. And then you come around here, you have this little lip that takes this away, and then you got the battery compartment and you got the LED switch right there. So flipping that switch so you can see the gems all lit up and hitting it, and there you go. You can see them pretty nicely. Let me come in a little bit closer. Obviously, the Mind Stone here is a much brighter light because that's where primarily the light section is for the whole thing. But you can kind of see, if I dull that down, you can see what's happening with the other lights. You got the Power Stone, Space Stone, the Reality Stone. You got the Soul Stone down there at the bottom, which these ones are a little bit harder to see because they're dark. And then, of course, you got the Time Stone right there on his thumb. To pull that, like I said, the fish just removes, and that, I mean, it's a really very, very bright light. It just doesn't necessarily, like I said, get those slightly darker stones lit up as much as I would like. The green one's not bad. The green one kind of shows pretty decently. Obviously, the Power and Space Stone do, but the Reality and the Soul Stone just are kind of there. So, kind of stinks, but, you know, it is what it is. And, of course, with all my studio lights on, it's much harder to see. I mean, that one shines very brightly, but let's see if I turn it off, if you notice. Yeah, so you only really notice the difference in those other lighter color stones, not so much. Yeah, the green one a little bit, but really very cool. This is definitely a figure. I've never used, a lot of collectors know about the soap box battery compartments where you plug it in and you can actually leave the batteries on for an extended period of time. It just changes it from being a battery section to a power-up section. I think that would be cool to utilize with this. Overall, good detail on here. You can see some nice wear with the darker colors and such. Overall, really nice. I do like how that looks a lot. Now, I'm going to remove this because you can also take this and put this on the other hand. So if you don't want to have an open hand here, you can have this as being a fist, which I'll show you how to pop that on there. And then he comes with an alternate portrait. Now, this, to me, a lot of people look at this and they talk about how it's angry. It's absolutely gorgeous. I want to come in. How close can I mean, that is absolutely incredible looking. Again, you got that gorgeous like speckling inside his skin tone. You can see that very nicely. The different kind of lines on his face, his nutsack of a chin, just kind of hanging there. But this face sculpt really does, to me, remind me of the look of anguish in his face when he was fighting. Not so much angry. I mean, obviously he's gritting his teeth, but it looks like he's just in anguish and fighting. This reminds me of the scene on Titan when all of the various Avengers that were there were just about to pull the gauntlet off of his arm. He had Mantis on his head, and this is when he was talking to Star-Lord. That's what this look reminds me of, and I like it. I think it creates an absolutely awesome possibility for a display. If you follow me on Instagram, which if you're not, you should, it's instagram.com/optibotimus. I posted an amazing picture. I am not good at posing, as many of you guys know, but I created an awesome picture of the various characters that I have, such as Drax, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, all of them fighting Thanos and just about to pull his gauntlet off. I had that like all done up and looking amazing. And this is the head sculpt that I used. I think that it's a terrific portrait. Looks amazing when you compare this to the CGI. Absolutely spectacular looking. Now he does come with, this is part of what I don't like. I like the base. You can see you got this really large base. You got rubble down there kind of looking like Titan, I guess. Avengers, Infinity War, Thanos again. It's just this white paint on the plastic. I wish they would go back to that more metal look. It just looks much nicer. You got a clear pillar, and then you've got the little crotch grabber right here. And then it works in conjunction with this. As you can see, it creates like this little squared off section that you just put this right inside there. So it creates a kind of diorama. The problem that I have is not so much with the concept of doing it. We've gotten this many times before. I really like it. Especially since this is a large one. It will not fit in my detolf, but will look great on top of the detolf where I have this guy displayed. Just getting him out of the way for a quick second. My issue with this is it's all blurry. Now, granted, when you're looking at it on screen, the camera's going to be focused on the foreground, not the background. But this complete blurred look looks really cheap, if you ask me. It looks like they just pulled an image off the internet and printed it on there. I wish it was a high definition, high resolution image where you could see the lines, everything was crisp and sharp, especially like the moon right here where you can see it's getting destroyed. I don't know how well that's going to come across because it's actually kind of lightly colored and the lights are kind of blending in here. But, I mean, everything on here, like even when you look at this, I mean, it's blurred and I don't think it looks good at all. And I think that if you're going to do something like this, great. I love it. It adds to the display option for it, but use a high resolution image. I mean, we're paying this much money for it. I would imagine they would be, I mean, they're able to get the CGI scans of Josh Brolin to create this. They could easily have gotten the background template from Marvel to be able to recreate this. So this is a fail, if you ask me. And that's not terrible because overall this figure doesn't come with a lot of down points. This is just a very large one. Now I'm coming in to take a closer look at the figure. This is the other portrait that he comes with. And as you can see, it's a very neutral look, which is by itself very imposing. Same terrific detail, just a very neutral expression, but absolutely looks like the actor. With this face like this, you get a little bit better of a look at his eyes. In the other one, bringing that in, you can see that with the grimace, it kind of makes his eyes a little bit harder to see. You can see him really nicely here. And I'm going to do a full comparison of the two different figures, but here's the original Thanos head sculpt, and both of them still look really good. I mean, a lot of people criticize this original figure, and honestly, you shouldn't, because this was done before the final look for Thanos was created. Well, final look and final size of him, I should say. Now, staying zoomed in a little bit, taking a look at the rest of the body, you can see that he has part of his armor. As we saw, he took the majority of his armor off kind of after beating the living bejesus out of Hulk. And this was what was left underneath it. Gorgeous gold detail. You can see you do have some nice wear on there, which really looks very nice. Spin it around to the back section, and you can see a little bit more of that wearing effect right there. But overall, really very sharp looking. Great detail on the rest of the costume coming around to the front. A lot of people have complained about this gap right here. Honestly, the gap is there in the movie, guys. Maybe it's a little bit more pronounced here, but that gap is totally there. So I get why people complain about it. I'm not going, as a reviewer, I'm not going to knock it down when that's kind of how it looked in the film. Could they have done a better job with it? Probably, but it's not that big of a deal, I don't think, at least for me. Gorgeous texturing detail for the suit here. It is a softer rubber material. You can see a really nice black wash throughout there, which gives a real cool look to the overall look of the suit. The arms, again, absolutely gorgeous. You see some veins and everything. You got the different lines on them. You have the same type of thing here on this arm, but obviously this has the Infinity Gauntlet attached to it. Both of them have the rubberized arms, so again, you're going to want to be careful with that if you're going to put that into a pose or something of that nature. This one you can see, though, is sculpted in a way where the bicep starts getting a little bit more bent to kind of go along with that kind of flex of the suit, so you can kind of see and even feel a harsher sort of cut right there that this one really doesn't have. It looks a lot better, I think, on this arm than this one, to be honest, but that's just to kind of give some space for the Infinity Gauntlet. Coming down to take a closer look at that, basically the exact same thing going on here that we have with the other one, but this one is articulated and it is not in a fisted pose, and you really can't get it into a fisted pose. I'll go over that a little bit more when I cover the articulation, but same gorgeous detail on there. You do have the light up feature in here as well. It's same exact spot. Come around here to this side, pull this piece off, maybe with the fingernails that I don't have. There we go. Pull that piece off. You got the light switch, flipping that on turns that on, but again, the lights are going to be a little bit problematic to see. Same basic thing with the darker color stones. Those don't show up nearly as well as the lighter color ones. Again, I probably would recommend, if you want to do some kind of a light up sort of thing, go with that soapbox reactor or whatever it is. Come down to the pants. I do like that these are cloth material. You get a better range of motion with it. Again, we'll cover that more. When I got mine out of the box though, this was bent, which kind of sucked. I've been over time kind of like working this so it kind of sits flat to them a little bit more, but when they put it in to the tray, it was like that wasn't all the way down, so it sat like there, and now he's got a little bit of a flare right there. It is what it is. Looking at the boots, gorgeous detail on those as well. Really nice coloration. You got some wear on there, makes it look a little bit dirty. Big giant feet. You got some nice treads on the bottom of those feet. So overall, terrific looking detail on this guy. It looks exactly as it should. There really isn't, in terms of the looks of them, anything that I think that they should change. It just looks just about perfect for them. Now for the different swap out things, one thing I do want to mention is that the instructions do cover this. You do have this little collar piece. It recommends when you want to rotate that to lift it, then rotate it over and then put like his chin underneath that, because as it is, it'll rub on there. So just lift the head and then rotate it over to whatever side you want, then put it down. That just protects the overall detail on the figure itself. So like I was saying, you have a couple different options. Obviously the head is just on a ball joint, so you can take this, pull this, pop that off, and put that back on there, just like so you can get that look. And again, I like the look. I don't know if I had that all the way down. I like the look of it, but I think that head sculpt works a lot better if you're going to go for a pose where he's kind of fighting the Avengers from taking that off. That's just a personal preference kind of thing, you know, whatever. You come around here now, like I was saying, you can pop this big squeaky joint. You can pop this off, and then you can take this arm, pop the other one off, obviously, and you can put that on there. So you can have him kind of holding, you can't get the fingers into a snap kind of position, because usually you snap like that. The main knuckle down here does not bend very much. The front one, actually, you could, if you snap your fingers like this, you could probably do it. But as it is, it kind of stinks that you can't really, I mean, maybe you can do like almost as if you're about to snap, but I mean, I don't know. That's about the closest that you're going to be really able to get it if you wanted to try that. And then all you do is pop this out. It's on a ball joint, and then you put that in there just like so, and you can have something along those lines for the display. Really cool. And again, like I said, this is now not articulated. You can still like move this around. It's just on a ball joint, but you can have something like that. And honestly, it's like, I don't. Let's pop that off. See how this looks. Because that face, while it looks good, I just, yeah, see, that's a little bit more menacing looking if you're going to go with any kind of just static pose, I guess. So you can see everything is just ball jointed. This, though, Kind of looks a little bit better when you have that on there. Just giving that just power look for Thanos. I mean, I really dig that. I mean, it's super cool. Super cool. I mean, I don't know how many people would, you know, really want a snap kind of thing. I mean, I know I would. So if we're talking about accessories for the guy, maybe include a sculpted fist that would have that like it. Maybe include one. This doesn't really remove. It's stuck on there, but maybe figure out a way. Yeah, because you got the battery section in there, and then you just take this and you put that right on there, and you can have just a hand right there. And then again, you could bend it, but you got to be careful with that. So if you want a long pose, go with this arm. You know, but maybe they could have done a way where they could figured out how to replace the Infinity Gauntlet with one that was after the snap that was damaged. Maybe something like that, but absolutely terrific. Now for some size comparisons and measuring, at the bottom to the top, you're looking at about 16.5 inches in terms of the height. And this is where I'm going to bring in the previous version because there is a huge size difference between these guys. The new one towers over this guy. The old one here was about 14.5. So you're looking at about a 2-inch size difference and a much bigger, bulkier look to him. I mean, huge proportional difference. Again, though, this was before Marvel decided to resize him. So this still is a great figure. Obviously, he comes with the armor, which we are going to get an endgame version where he'll be wearing this, and he'll be more sized like that. So it'll probably make this one even more obsolete. And in terms of the throne is sized for him, so it doesn't really fit with this guy. So it's making this guy more obsolete. As that next one comes out, obviously it'll make it even more so obsolete. But just to kind of illustrate a more normal size Hot Toys, here we have the new Black Panther. And again, you can see, let's get these guys looking. For some reason, I like when they're looking at the camera for you. But you can see that, again, there is a size difference between them. This guy comes in at pretty much exactly 12 inches. But I do like the size, and one of the biggest reasons I like the size, get him over here, get him to balance for me. There you go, stay right there, and get him over there. Again, kind of get him to balance, is because of this guy. Here we have the Hulk, and this is the scale that I think they wanted to go with. A lot of people still think that it's wrong, but in looking at the movie, he was hunched over most of the time, which made him about the same height as this guy. If you had him standing straight up like this, I think that this is a little bit more accurate. This was grossly inaccurate. But having him be just about the same size as the Hulk, I really feel was a big contributing factor in resizing this guy. And just for the measuring, Hulk here comes in at about 18 inches. So you can see that 16.5 to about 18, about an inch and a half. Bulk-wise, pretty close, I feel, to the movie. And I know everybody's going to say that they wish that Hulk got a rematch with Thanos. But to me, I don't mind, because when you think about it, it was ultimately Professor Hulk that undid everything that he did by taking on that second gauntlet and snapping things back to normal. So, in my mind, he beat him in the best way possible at his own game. Just showing the evolution of that Hulk character into Professor Hulk. Now, for his articulation, as I mentioned, the head is on a ball joint, so you do get a nice range with it. He looks up, down pretty decently. You do want to make sure that you lift it all the way back to bring it over the collars, though. Definitely do that so you don't damage it. The swivel here at the arm is the same as this. You also do have the hinge in and out. You pull that all the way out, but it only goes up to about there, so not a full outward motion. Does he rotate? He's got a little bit of a wiggle waggle in there, but not much. And I'm trying to see if there's any real rotation there. There doesn't appear to be any rotation at it, so you kind of have to utilize that little ball section there to kind of rotate his arm. Same here with this guy. The elbow, you do get a different range of motion. You get a better range of motion here, but again, you don't want to leave it like that because that'll probably damage it. And then you got a ball joint here at the regular wrist. Come down to this side though. This one here rotates, but it only bends at about 45 degrees. You can straighten it all the way out, and then you get 1, 2, 3. That's about it. 3 clicks there, which, again, you know, if you want to get more of a deep curl, use this. You just can't articulate that elbow. So with this one, again, basically the same at the shoulder, but nothing here at the elbow. Both of the arms, though, allow you to rotate the Infinity Gauntlet at the, well, that section of it, so you can rotate that around. The hand section is on a ball joint, so you can, again, rotate that and get that squeakiness. This one, though, has, like I said, individually articulated fingers. The main knuckle on all of them is a little bit more limited than the other ones. You got a little joint right here. You have a joint here and here that can get a real nice bend. So these knuckles here, limited. These ones here are pretty decently articulated, so you can get some cool poses with this guy and really get a dramatic look for him. In terms of the waist, it feels like there's a hip joint. Yeah, you got a hip joint in there, like right here. Maybe that's an ab crunch. Nothing really up there that I can see. It rotates a little, but it is limited by the material in the pants. You get a nice full range of motion with the legs, though. It does, in terms of the material, really help down here, just not so much up here. You come down to the knee, and that's got 2 joints. You can see that big giant joint right there. So you do get 2 joints there, which is nice. He does rotate at the upper part of the thigh. The ankles are on ball joints, and you can see that by pulling it off. This shifts up a little bit, and then just pop that back on there. But you got that nice range of motion there. So lots of articulation in the guy, so you're going to be able to get some pretty cool poses. Like I said, head on over to my Instagram, and you can see that I had him down on his knees and everything, and his arm pulled back to illustrate how he looked as the gauntlet was trying to be ripped away. And I think he did a pretty good job of recreating it. So lots of articulation in him that lets you get some pretty cool poses. Now the question is this guy worth it? He's an expensive piece, but I really do feel that his overall size, the fact that we get 2 different portraits, as well as 2 interchangeable arms with light up gauntlets, I think, yes, he is worth it. He is a marked improvement over that previous version. Again, not that that was Hot Toys' fault. That was just the design from Marvel. So the guys over at Hot Toys have done a terrific job in recreating that. Now, what is going to cause some debate, I guess, would be, do you get this one, which is a stripped down kind of clothing look for him, or do you get the other one that's going to come out for Endgame that has a much more armored look, very similarly to that original Guardians of the Galaxy one? For me, I think it's worth having both of them. I think both look absolutely terrific and can look good in 2 kind of different displays, like I said. This one, you could set up a display where there's like a battle on Titan. I love that idea. You can have another one, that being the Endgame one, where he's just standing there, powerful looking. I mean, it's a lot of different options, and I think having both will be really what a lot of collectors are going to go for. In terms of the negatives on this guy, I don't like that backdrop. I like the concept of it, but I do not like the blurry, low-definition background image. Also, I should have mentioned, I totally forgot this, that this actually can remove. I mean, it just kind of sits in there, but it just slides off, and you got that, which, I'm sorry I didn't show that because that's freaking amazing looking. I love that look. That's really cool. You got that little glossy Avengers logo there. I mean, absolutely awesome. I mean, that, you know, is what it is. And like I said, that just kind of sits on top there if you want to use that base or that backdrop. That looks cool if you're just going to use this in general. I also don't like what they did with the bicep. I feel that's weird. When you flex your arm, your bicep kind of comes into contact with your forearm. So that gap right there looks weird to me, and it just doesn't look natural, I don't think. But that's not a huge problem. In general, that's all I can really think of negative about them. The overall look is amazing. The likeness is spot on, and I hear all the time people like, what's the best one? You know, is this one the best one? Is this one the best one? Is this one the best one? I really feel like this could be one of the best ones that we've gotten in a long time. The tailoring of the suit and everything is really very nice. They're using those rubber arms, which is definitely a downside, but at least they give you one that you can pose it like this and not worrying about damages. So, I mean, that I feel is a step in the right direction. Overall, I love him. I think he's well worth it. If you are a Thanos fan, if you're an Avengers fan, this is one that you need to have in your collection. And if you weren't able to get this one, jump on that pre-order right now over at Big Bad Toy Store for the Endgame one. So get it now while you can. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Again, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it, guys, if you would show your support simply by doing that one small gesture, and that's hitting that thumbs up button. Believe it or not, that one very small thing can really go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. I'd also like to send a huge thank you if you made it all the way to the end of this review. In this world of YouTube, another way that you can really help support my channel is making sure that you watch a video all the way through. And if you did that, thank you. Also, I want to send a huge shout out to all of my patrons who, through their continued support, now more than ever help to make reviews like this possible. And finally, remember, grow wise, grow strong, but never grow up. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I love you, 3000.